My name is Kelly Dale, and this is your Must Know Monday for Monday, August the 8th. So last week I showed you how to do simple chain stitch with beads. Did you practice it this week? I really hope you did, because in just a few seconds we're going to get started learning how to do the tubular bead crochet. Now, here's the thing, and I will go ahead and, like I told you in the very first video, number one is that I am not an expert, okay? I know how to do this. I enjoy doing it. I've had a lot of people ask me how to do it, so I said, let me teach you. That does not mean, hey, Kelly Dale over here, she's a bead crochet expert. No, I never said that, okay? So I had somebody on one of my pages say, well, I hope she teaches us the right way to do it like I learned it. Not really sure what the right way is, but hopefully I will teach you the right way to do this. Second of all is that do not sit here and try it one time and say, I can't do this. Yes, you can. I promise you can. But like I said in the very first video, you really have to practice bead crochet. It's going to take you about 12 to 15 hours to get it, okay? To really get it, to understand it, to be able to do it, to be comfortable with it. The biggest thing you're going to have to do is consistently practice it and try practicing the way that it's best for you to hold your crochet hook, hold your beads, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm going to show you several times in this video how to start it and how to keep going with it, because once you start it, it's just a repetitive thing until you get to the length that you need. So I'm going to show you several times. If you get it the first or the second time and you just want to practice it, fantastic, okay? Let me tell you, if you click on the center of your screen, what's going to happen is you're going to see a pause button, you're going to see a forward button and a backward button. So if you get it the first or second time I show you, you can hit that little forward button and just move on through the rest of the video to the next parts. Or you can hit the pause button and slow me down, so that way you can learn the way that you need to learn, guys. I really want you to get this, because this is a really cool technique to learn, and it gets you out of the box of using a needle and thread to actually make a piece of jewelry with. So just please, please, please keep that in mind, that you are going to have to practice this technique to get it, okay? So let's get our crochet hook loaded with the beads on our thread, and we'll get started. Okay, so do what you need to pump yourself up, talk really good to yourself, because we're going to get started. And guys, you can do this, okay? So, got my tail thread. I'm going to wrap it around my hand. I'm going to stick the needle through this loop that I've made here, and I'm going to grab a hold. Let me try it a different way here so I can show you better. Okay, so I'm going through the loop, and I'm going to grab a hold of my working thread that I've got, and I'm going to pull that so that it makes my little slip knot there. Now, find your first 6 beads. So 2, 4, 6. Got my first 6 beads, and I'm going to let these babies drop down. And I really hope that you practice your chain stitch like I told you to last week, because now this is where it's going to come in. We're going to drop a bead, wrap, and pull through. And if you missed last week's video, go back to YouTube, find Off the Beaded Path, go to our channel, and then click on videos, and they do them in order of newest to oldest, so you can go back to last week's Must Know Monday video and find out all the particulars of doing a chain stitch with beads. Okay, so I have all 6 chained now. These are my first 6. Ta-da! Video done. Complete. Just kidding. Okay, now, if it helps you, go ahead and pull the next 6 beads down. This is why I said it's super important, especially on your first one, if you've never done it, to do 6 different colors, and you'll see why in a minute. Now, there are 2 ways that I've seen this done. I'm going to show you my favorite way to do this first, and then the next time that I start it in a few minutes, I'll show you the second way that I've seen. What I was taught and what I like to do is to connect it before I actually start adding the beads. My thread is coming out of the last bead, and over here, the green bead is my first bead. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go under that thread there or the thread that's under the bead. I'm going to take the working thread, the one that's back here, and I'm going to grab a hold. I'm going to wrap the thread and pull it through the loop where my green is, and then the first, or my loop that I had there. So that is 6 beads. So it's connected now as far as my circle is concerned. But now I'm actually ready to start adding the beads. So like I said, the green one is the first. So I can take the needle. I've got my 6 beads here, so I'm going to let those drop down. I'm going to go under the green bead, turn the bead so that it is on the right side, the right side of my hook, and so that I can see the hole. I'm going to drop the new bead down, wrap the thread, and I'm going to pull it through the loop. Okay, next one is purple. So I'm going to go under the thread or under the bead so that I'm catch the thread. Make sure the bead is turned where I can see the hole. It's on the right side. So if you're left-handed, that bead would be to your left. You're just doing everything backwards. I'm going to bring the bead down, wrap the thread, and I'm going to pull it through the loop under my bead and then through the second loop. So you can see right here I've got 2 loops. I'm going to bring it under 2 loops at one time. The next one is yellow, so I'm going to take the needle. I'm going to go under the thread between the yellow there. I'm going to turn the yellow so that I can see the hole. Now, if you'll notice, the thread, my working thread, is behind this bead, and that's exactly what you want. You don't want to get it wrapped around to the front. You want it to stay behind the bead that you're under. I'm going to drop the bead, wrap the thread, and I'm going to pull it. You can see I've got 2 loops here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it through both of those loops. The next bead is my pinky pink color here. I'm going to go under the thread. I'm going to move that bead so that I can see the hole. Bring my bead down, wrap the thread, and then as you can see, I've got 2 loops on the hook here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull through both of those loops. Going through the turquoise, or under I should say. I'm moving that bead to the side, bringing the new bead down, wrapping, and pulling through. The last bead on the row is my blue. So I'm going to go under the thread there where the blue's at, turn that bead, drop the blue down, wrap, and then pull through both loops. So now I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beads here along the top. And that is exactly what I want, because you can see all 6 of your beads. Now if you're just, you've never done this before, I would suggest going ahead and getting my next 6 beads. Now me personally, I drop all the beads down and I work on them from that vantage point. But if you're just starting out, this will really help you with just dropping down the 6 beads at a time so that you can see when you get to the end. Whoopsie daisy. Let me Okay, so I'm back to the first bead. The next bead on my thread here is a green, so I know that my needle is going to have to go under the green. So I go under the green, I turn the bead so that it's to the right side of my hook, I drop the new bead down, wrap it, and then you can see I've got 2 loops here onto my actual hook. So when I wrap, I'm going to pull through both of those loops. Go under, the next color on my thread is purple. So I'm going to take my hook, go under the purple, turn the bead, drop the new bead down, wrap, and then pull it through both loops. The next one is yellow, so I'll take the hook, go under the yellow, turn the yellow, drop the yellow down, wrap, and pull through the loops. Next one is pink, so I go under the pink, I turn the pink, drop one down, wrap, and pull through both loops. My next one is turquoise, so I go under the turquoise, turn the bead, drop it, wrap, and pull. And the next one is blue, so I go under the blue, I turn the bead, drop it, wrap, and pull. So right now, it's still going to look like I've got sort of just a jumbled mess. Now, as you can see, you have your first 2 rows are laying flat like they should, and the third row that we just put on, those holes are not laying properly. And the reason being is because when we go around the next row, that's when we actually lay them down so that they lay like they should. So at this point, if you've not done this before, you can just drop down your next 6 beads. Me, I'm going to drop down a good many kind of here to play with. Okay, I know that my first bead on the row is green, so I go under the green, turn the bead, which sometimes that bead will automatically turn itself, and when it does, you're like, hallelujah, less work you got to do. Drop your bead down, wrap, and then pull through both loops. Next one is purple, so I'm going to go under the purple, turn that bead, get my fingers back in place here. It's hard to do this with a camera right in front of you. Okay, here we go. Better. Okay. I went under the purple, I turned it, I dropped my new bead down, wrap, and pull. Next one's yellow, so I'm going to go under the yellow, turn, drop, wrap, pull. Peachy pink color, so under that peachy pink, make sure the bead's turned, drop, wrap, pull. Under the turquoise, turn, drop, wrap, pull. Blue, so I go under the blue, turn it, drop, wrap, pull. Under the green, turn it, drop, wrap, pull. Purple, so I'm going to go under the purple, turn it, drop, wrap, pull. Now, if you do not turn this bead and you kind of leave it laying up on its side like that, you will be able to tell it in the beadwork. So it's very important that you get that bead laid down so that you don't have to worry about it. And as you can see, all I'm doing is just a repetitive motion. You know, I can tell exactly when I start and end a row because I know what color I start with and what color I end with. So that's the fabulous thing about doing multiple colors when you first learn. And then, see, I've got this much done so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a hold, going to drop more beads down, and you just keep working. And you would just keep working in this manner until you have the length that you need, depending on what you're going to make. If you're going to put a clasp on it, if you are going to make it into like a bangle, or whatever that you're going to do with it. So it's just pretty much a repetitive motion. And you'll be able to look at it and tell if you didn't do something right. Now, if you go through and you realize that you have put on a wrong bead, it's pretty easy to fix. You just have to be very careful. And I'm going to show you how that's done later on in the video, so that way you'll kind of know what to do. But as you can see at this point, and you can just go back, this, I've been crunching the bottom of it here as I work, but those now will lay straight, so you can see the pattern you've got. It's starting to spiral exactly like you want it to. So you would just continue until you have whatever it is you're making. This is a sample of another one that I've got started, and here's a really good little tip for you. I still have my bobbin. This is not completed yet. This is going to be one of the samples I use for you next week. So what I did was, where I had to stop, I used a little paper clip, and that actually is holding my spot or my loop there so that I don't drop any stitches or lose any stitches in between carrying it back and forth to wherever I'm going. So I'm going to pull out what I've got so far, what I've got started, and I'm going to start over again. It's very simple. Or if you come down here and you think, oh heck, well I didn't get that bead turn, or that don't look right, all you have to do is just start pulling the thread. Now you have to be very careful, because if you don't want this to happen, you gotta be careful. Now if you were to drop, say you were to pull it out by accident, something happened and you're not, you dropped your hook or whatever, you can still grab a hold of your loop and be able to keep going. Now I can see my loop right here in the center. Now if I had a big enough loop going on, I could use my hook and actually grab a hold of that. But since I don't have a big enough loop, oh wait, there we go. So right there is my loop. So I could basically now keep going. Now if I didn't have a big enough loop to where I could get my hook in there and grab it, then I could use a safety pin or whatever to get under and grab that little loop. Now a lot of people have asked, what size thread can I use for my hook? Well, this is how you tell. I am actually using the pearl cotton thread, number 8, and when I do that, you can see when I put it in my hook here, it's the perfect size for my hook. Not too big, not too small, just kind of like Goldilocks and the Bears. It's the perfect size. And that's how you can tell if you've got a thread that's too thick to, for it to grab onto and hang onto, then you're using something too big. And that's kind of how you'll know what thread you need to use for your hooks. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this, and I know some of you are totally freaking out right now because I just pulled that apart, like my friend Gail Brown. I'm sure that totally just drove her crazy that I pulled that apart. But, Gail, I love you. So now I'm going to back up again. We're going to do our little loopy here. And make our slip knot. Okay, now find your first 6 beads. Let those drop down. And you're going to do the chain stitch. And you're not going to drop your thread just like I did. Alright, so here we go. Going to chain those first 6 beads. Like I said, I hope you practiced your chain stitch last week, because it's going to come in handy today. So I'm going to chain these beads first. And you don't want to get this first row too tight or you're not going to be able to get your needle under it, and you are going to be so frustrated when you actually are trying to start the crochet. Alright, so in the first sample, or in the first part, I showed you how I like to do it. Now I'm going to show you how I've also read in books how to start this. So I've got my first 6 beads on here, and you have to connect the last bead and the first bead just like we did in the beginning. So I'm going to stick the needle under the thread here where the green bead is. So basically my hook is going to go between the green bead and the thread. And I'm going to turn that bead downward just as if I'm getting ready to add my beads. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull some beads down here, and I'm going to do the first 6 just like I did previously, so it'll be a little easier for you to see. Drop down the first bead, and let me zoom in here a little bit for you. Here we go. So I'm dropping down the first bead. I am going to wrap the thread, and as you can see right here on the needle now, I've got my thread wrapped, but I also have 2 loops. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pull it through, or my hook, and I'm going to pull it through both of those loops. Now the next one is my purple, so I'm going to go under the purple bead, turn that bead, drop, wrap, pull through both loops. Next bead I have is yellow, so I'm going to go under the yellow, turn that bead, and again, make sure your thread is behind the bead that you just turned. You don't want it to the front. Drop your bead, wrap, and pull through both loops. It's pink, so go under the thread there where the pink's at. Turn that bead, drop, wrap, and then pull through both loops. So the first one and the second one. Turquoise, I'm going to go under the turquoise, turn, drop, wrap, and pull. The last one is my blue, so I'm going to go under the blue, turn, drop, wrap, and then pull through both loops. So that now on the top you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beads along the top. I'm going to stick that hook back in here and drop my beads down. Okay, the first bead in my row is green, so I go under the green. These are the green on top, okay? Turn the bead, drop, wrap, and pull through both loops. Purple, so I'm going to go under the purple, turn, drop, wrap, pull through both loops. Next is yellow, so I go under the yellow, turn, drop, wrap, pull. Next is pink, so I go under the pink, turn, drop, wrap, pull. Turquoise, turn, drop, wrap, pull. Under the blue, turn, drop, wrap, pull. So just like in the first sample, all you're doing is just a repetitive motion. Going under the bead, turning, drop, wrap, and pull. Turn, drop, wrap, pull. Now, while I work just a minute, I'm going to actually zoom out for just a minute so that you can see how I hold the thread. Everybody's got to learn their own way to hold this thread. You're going to figure out a way that if you'll practice it, like I told you in the beginning of the series and the beginning of this video, if you'll practice it, you're going to figure out a way that is going to work best for you to hold this thread. So let me actually take just a minute and zoom out. So this way, maybe you can pick up something from how I'm holding it. And I hate to even actually show you how I hold it. Okay, so I just screwed up right here. So let me zoom this back in. Okay, I actually dropped, and you can see that loop right there to the left where I dropped my loop. So I'm going to pull that back out and then grab a hold of my loop again so that I can do this over. I just didn't get it pulled through the right loop there, so that is what the problem was. And all you seen was I just pulled that one bead back out and just continued to work in my circular motion. Now let me zoom out again. There we go. So hopefully, and like I said, I hate to even show you how I hold it because I don't want to really influence how you hold it. I want you to figure out your own way. I have to really hold it really good with my fingers, just like this, so that I can get a good tight tension as I work, because like I told you a couple weeks ago, I am a super tight stitcher when it comes to stitching or crocheting or anything, so I have to be really careful with my tension. But all it is just a repetitive motion, like I said, until you get it to the length of what you want. Now this is, if you want this to be a bangle, you're going to make a roll-on bangle. You want to be careful because you want to make it about a half to a size bigger than what you're going to wear. It's going to stretch just a little. Now this is not using the Nozu Sunoco thread, so you have to be careful rolling it on and off, so that way you don't damage the tube too bad. And it's not really bad just using regular seed beads, but when you start throwing crystals in here and for variations and stuff, that's when you start getting into trouble. Okay, so I actually just dropped that stitch. I'm going to try and get in here and grab it. There we go. So now you can see the tube. You can see the spiral shape that it's got going there, and if I zoom back in from where I've been holding the bottom of this, some of these beads here at the bottom have gotten turned a little bit. So all you have to do is take your finger and fix those beads. Just make them lay exactly like they need to be laying. And you'll just continue until you get the length that you want. And I'll show you again. Here's the black one that I've been working on. Get it unraveled here. And this is how I travel with it. This is exactly how I've just had this through in my purse. I keep the hook in my purse, and then, you know, with this paper clip here, I can't drop that stitch. So just keep practicing this week and continuing with this. And what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to get to the length that I want on either one of these, and I'm going to show you what to do if you fit. Well, let me go ahead and show you without actually doing it. If I have a bead that I realize, oh, heck, I've got the wrong color on, or I shouldn't, I put 2 of that color on or something. You can take your thread and take the bead, and what I do is I put it on top of my finger just like this. And I make it kind of tight against my finger. Now with it tight against my finger, I'll go ahead and get a pair of flat nose pliers. And you can take and you can grab it like this, but I don't suggest grabbing it like this. You can grab it like this and grab a hold of that upper part of the bead, and when you press real hard, what's going to happen is you're going to bust this bead without actually injuring your thread. If you do it this way, you may injure the thread. But if you grab a hold of the top part of the bead right here and press, then you'll be able to bust the bead without messing up any of your thread. Because you would hate to bust that bead this way and actually break your thread in 2, because then you are SOL up a creek without a paddle. So that is definitely something to think about there if you have a bead messed up. Now, if you have one bead or one bead that you've messed up in the sequence, just remember you're going to have to bust that whole sequence. So I would have to bust the other 5 beads or 3 beads or whatever in that sequence so that it would work out right in my tube of 6. Be sure and practice this week. I really hope you were able to learn from this video. I feel like I did a totally crappy job showing you, but like I said, I'm no expert. This is just how I do it. This is not necessarily how anybody else does it, just how I does it. My opinion, okay? So don't get on here and be like, she didn't do it right. Because I told you up front, I am not a pro at this. But again, watch it back, practice it. Practice, practice, practice. Like I said, it's going to take practice to get it. But I want to see some of you guys who get it and who are practicing it. I want to see some of these on our Facebook page. So if you're in our group, our Off the Beaded Path Facebook closed group, shoot me a picture. Show me the colors that you've got, on yours. Show me what you've got working on. Just show me. I want to see what you're doing to practice the bead crochet. And I'm going to do a contest this week and to see who basically can post the most done of a bead crochet. Now don't be a cheater and be an expert at bead crochet and whip out like 30 yards of bead crochet. I want genuine people who don't really know how to crochet to post some of these pictures so that I can see what you're doing it and to see if you're getting it. So that way I'll know, hey, next week I need to back up and I need to do something else to show them how to do it again or come up with a different way to teach you this. And so if you post on there, there might be a contest for this next week. We'll just wait and see. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure and come back next week because depending upon what I see this week for progress, we're either going to do this again and I'm going to try and show you a different way to do it, or I'm going to show you how to either finish it off into a bangle style bracelet or how to put actual ends on it with cones and clasps and all of that good stuff. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.